Looking to plan a killer ski trip to the French Alps? One of the go-to choices has long been Paradiski, consisting of multiple interconnected resorts spanning over 400 kilometers of marked trails, plus iconic lift infrastructure and some really cool features. This ski region looks like a solid choice on paper. But when it comes to terrain, snow quality, and most importantly, overall experience, how does Paradiski stack up to the rest of the European Alps? Well, in this video, we'll go through Paradiski's overall mountain experience, and then we'll go through how it stacks up in our European rankings. Before we jump in, just a quick note that if you want to join us in Europe next year, stay tuned till the end of the video where we'll have more information on our upcoming Austria ski and road trip this January. With that all being said, let's jump in. When it comes to size, it's hard to beat Paradiski. This is one of the largest ski domains in Europe, spanning a claimed 425 kilometers of pistes across an absolutely massive 16,000 acre footprint. Technically, Paradiski consists of 3 resorts, Les Arcs, Peisey-Vallandry, and Plagne, under a unified lift network. That said, Les Arcs and Peisey-Vallandry are essentially just one connected resort, and for all intents and purposes, most people just consider Peisey-Vallandry to be part of the broader Les Arcs ski resort. On the other hand, Plagne, which is a full valley away, is only connected to the Les Arcs part of the resort by a singular 2-way cable car. Compared to other mega resorts, this choke point, combined with Paradiski's long and linear layout, means that skiing or riding between Plagne and the broader Les Arcs footprint is far from straightforward. While it is certainly possible to ski or ride from Plagne to Les Arcs and back in a single day, it requires careful timing, efficient navigation, and a fair amount of lift hopping. This makes the experience more of a mission than a seamlessly linked crossover, and it's not exactly something people are going to want to do multiple times in a single day. That said, the 2 resort sides are so big that most guests will find it easy to spend multiple days without feeling the need to even traverse once between the 2. It's also worth noting that thanks to its 225 kilometers of pistes across over 8,800 acres, Plagne is actually bigger than Les Arcs and Peisey-Vallandry combined, although the broader Les Arcs side still measures in at a gigantic 7,230 acres. For context, the Les Arcs side is around the same size as Park City, while Plagne is bigger than every single ski resort in North America, including giants like Whistler Blackcomb and Vail. Paradiski spans multiple valleys and elevation zones, offering a mix of high alpine steeps, wide open cruisers, and sheltered tree runs. Les Arcs is more segmented, with distinct terrain pods and villages, while Plagne's layout feels more centralized and cohesive across the whole resort. Peisey-Vallandry sits at the west end of Les Arcs and functions primarily as a connector between the 2 bigger resorts. And thanks to its central location, it functionally acts as a connector between the 2 bigger resorts. Both the Les Arcs and the Plagne sides boast spectacular vertical drops of over 1,800 meters, both of which are continuously skiable from top to bottom when conditions allow. The larger of these vertical descents is found at Les Arcs, where guests can ski or ride all the way down from the top of Aiguille Rouge to the Village base for a whirlwind journey of 2,200 meters or 7,300 feet. This is among the top vertical descents in Europe, and it's higher than any North American ski resort. One thing to note though, while Plagne claims a top elevation of 3,250 meters, based on our calculations, the highest lift tops out at 3,080 meters, so that resort's vertical drop isn't quite as high as the official stats claim it is. If you're looking for views on your trip to Paradiski, the experience doesn't disappoint. The scenery is absolutely phenomenal, especially from the top of Les Arcs and the glacier areas in Plagne. Guests will be able to soak in some of the best views the French Alps has to offer. The Aiguille Rouge is undoubtedly the pinnacle of Les Arcs, with stunning vistas and multiple viewpoints for a 360-degree panoramic view. Les Arcs' modernist architecture is surprisingly attractive up close, and Arc 1950 in particular feels elegant and cohesive. Plagne's villages are more utilitarian, although one could argue they're still picturesque in their own way. While not quite as iconic as world-renowned destinations like Zermatt or the Dolomites, Paradiski has a few other decidedly memorable tricks up its sleeve. At the top of the Transarc gondola, there's an unassuming mineral exhibit with all sorts of cool rocks on display. And if you keep walking through a door to the end of the exhibit, you'll also end up at a laser rifle shooting range. Try to find that on your other European typical ski vacation. In terms of easier terrain quality, Paradiski is one of the best resorts in the French Alps, if not the entire world. Each of the 3 areas at Paradiski caters well to beginners, and with the exception of a handful of upper mountain lifts, Every part of the Dominion offers a blue-rated easy way down. Peisey-Vallandry is especially ideal for first-timers, with gentle, uncrowded below-treeline slopes. Plagne specializes in some of the most beautiful, mellower runs one can find anywhere, with an extensive range of wide, above-treeline blue pistes. Les Arcs has several beginner zones as well, spanning various elevations and also offering excellent views. While more advanced skiers and riders won't want to spend too much time on blue terrain, one blue run just about everyone will find cool is the tunnel piste in the upper part of Plagne. This trail runs into a massive ridge about 2/3 of the way down, and the resort solution, you guessed it, involves skiing or riding through a tunnel to get to the other side of that ridge. And to top it all off, the inside is lit up and plays techno music. Although it is worth noting, this tunnel is a little bit flat, and snowboarders may not have the best time in it. Paradiski is fantastic for intermediate skiers and riders as well. Les Arcs is packed with fast, rolling red-rated groomers, especially off the Arpet lift. Over at Plagne, visitors will find wide and lower angle high alpine runs that are well designed for progression, although occasional flat runouts do exist. While its red runs are generally lower elevation than the rest of the Dominion, Peisey-Vallandry is majority intermediate terrain and is perfect for long and cruisy laps. When it comes to expert-rated black runs, Les Arcs delivers the best advanced skiing in the Dominion. Guests looking for the steepest groomed runs should be sure to head to the Vert Gondola and the Aiguille Rouge Tram. These zones offer sustained steeps with fantastic views, though wind exposure can impact snow quality. Plagne has a handful of black runs, almost entirely in its upper elevations, but the overwhelming majority of them are difficult to lap, and this part of the Dominion caters much more to lower ability levels. At Peisey-Vallandry, black-rated pistes are quite limited as well. When it comes to maintained terrain that's ungroomed, Paradiski marks some of its black trails with the word nature. All of said nature trails are on the Les Arcs side, although several Plagne black pistes are regularly ungroomed in practice as well, especially off the glacier's gondola. The most impressive inbounds expert experience at Paradiski is perhaps the 2,000-meter descent from the top of Aiguille Rouge in Les Arcs. While conditions can be variable due to wind and sun exposure, it offers serious vertical and panoramic views. That said, other French Alps resorts offer more demanding experiences overall. When it comes to off-piste terrain, both Les Arcs and Plagne feature readily accessible options above treeline, which is ideal for intermediate to expert skiers and riders looking to explore just outside the trail sticks. Paradiski attracts much more of a family crowd than resorts like Chamonix and Verbier, so the off-piste tends to be significantly less tracked. If you're going off-piste and don't know the area, we highly recommend you hire a guide to show you around. And even if you do know the area, the off-piste is not patrolled for avalanches or other hazards, so it's wise to go with a partner, check avalanche forecasts, and bring a beacon, shovel, and probe with you on your journey. When it comes to terrain or snow parks, Paradiski doesn't quite match the elite park scenes of the best Alps resorts. That said, the Dominion offers more than enough for casual park rats. Les Arcs features a solid, well-maintained park near the Arpet lift along with a border cross course. Plagne's main park is located close to the glacier near Plagne, and it caters to both progression and experienced freestyle riders. With terrain ranging from 1,200 to 3,250 meters and a good chunk of north-facing slopes, Paradiski generally offers strong snow reliability for the European Alps, although conditions do vary across elevations. Les Arcs' higher alpine terrain, especially Vert and Aiguille Rouge, holds snow well, notwithstanding the wind issues we mentioned earlier. Plagne has a solid base elevation and typically more consistent coverage overall, though some lower areas like Montchauvin and Les Coches can experience poor coverage and suffer from variably open valley runs. That said, a strong snowmaking system, especially in lower mountain areas, keeps the Dominion reliably operating overall. Compared to the top French resorts, Paradiski is just a notch below in terms of consistent snow quality, but the Dominion clearly outperforms lower resorts in poor snow years. At a first glance, Paradiski boasts some of the coolest lifts in Europe, but overall, the resort's infrastructure is a mixed bag. On the plus side, both Les Arcs and Plagne have modern, high-speed lifts in their central areas, including over a dozen gondolas. This is especially the case on the Plagne side. Several upper mountain areas are served exclusively by tram, which does provide fast service if you time your arrival right, but can also cause queuing if it's busy. It's also worth touching on just how wild of an experience it is to ride the Vanoise Express. This is the lift that connects the two resort sides, and it's one of the only aerial tramways in the world to have double-decker cabins. With a carrying capacity of 200 people per tramcar, the Vanoise Express is home to the world's largest ski lift cabins at the time of publication. This beast of a lift spans a deep gorge between Plagne and Peisey-Vallandry, making for some absolutely phenomenal views. That said, those who are afraid of heights may not want to look down. Another very unique lift at Paradiski is the Les Arcs Express funicular. This 250-passenger alpine train provides access from Bourg-Saint-Maurice, which is the main town in the valley, by way of the Arc 1600 base. The funicular is a fast ride, and it's a scenic way to get to the base of the slopes. That said, this train runs on headways ranging between 15 to 20 minutes, so you'll want to make sure to time your departure right. But despite these impressive feats of engineering, both resort sides have several lifts that feel behind the times. Many of these slower lifts are redundant to more modern options, but in some cases, they provide the only access to significant terrain areas. At Les Arcs, this has historically especially been the case if you've spent time in the Villeroger area. If you were coming up from the base there in early 2025, you would have to bear through 3 fixed grip chairlifts before even getting anywhere else on the mountain. Thankfully, 2 of these ancient lifts are on track to be replaced with a gondola over the summer of 2025, so by the next time you visit, the lift setup there will hopefully be a lot more modern. At least as of the end of this season, Plagne is generally a bit more modern than Les Arcs, but there are still a few places with dated infrastructure, including 2 of the only fixed grip 6-pack chairlifts we've ever seen. It's also worth noting that most of Paradiski's high-speed chairlifts do not have bubbles, which are often standard fare at higher-end European resorts. Ultimately, compared to the ultra-modern lift systems at the best European resorts, Paradiski is a half step behind. Due in large part to its horizontal layout and massive footprint size, Paradiski is not the easiest ski region in the world to get around. That said, things get a lot less complex when viewing Les Arcs and Plagne as individual resorts, and the Dominion's clear and well-maintained signage ultimately helps guests find their way around. Unlike in North America and certain other French resorts, the names on most Paradiski piste signs are not that of the trail itself, but of the terrain zone or base that piste leads to. Some markings provide direct guidance to certain lifts, which can be very helpful when traversing across multiple resort zones. When it comes to the individual resorts, Plagne's layout is more intuitive thanks to its coherent and central focus, whereas Les Arcs can feel a bit more disjointed due to its spread out villages. The Vanoise Express is a critical connector and it's easy enough to find, but as we mentioned earlier, it's not something you'll want to cross more than once or twice a day. When it comes to resort crowds, Paradiski is generally well distributed, and lift lines are manageable across most of the Dominion. In the most popular areas, crowds are typically helped by uphill lift redundancies. The Aiguille Rouge tram at Les Arcs is typically the only consistent pinch point, given that the lift's low capacity and iconic terrain create long queues, and guests should especially allot extra time to ride this lift during peak periods. Paradiski's busiest month is February, but even during this month, lift lines still rarely reach unbearable levels outside of Aiguille Rouge. That said, the higher elevation blue runs at Plagne, especially at and around Plagne-Bellecourt and Belle-Plagne, can get quite congested during busier periods. Especially if you want to stay away from less experienced skiers and riders, these pistes are best avoided during peak times. While Les Arcs slopes don't tend to build up quite as much congestion as Plagne's, popular family areas such as Arquebus can get crowded. Les Arcs does offer an express lane pass if you want to skip the lines, but it doesn't get you priority access at Plagne, and in most circumstances, it's probably not worth it. Both Plagne and Les Arcs offer a wide range of on-mountain dining, with restaurants ranging from classic independently run alpine huts to outdoor après bars. Compared to the highest-end competitors, Paradiski is more affordable, but slightly less gourmet. Notable stops include the bar near Arpet in Les Arcs, where they have a live DJ and specialize in mulled wine. On the Plagne side, guests will want to check out one of the several glacier view terraces. But for the most memorable experience, don't miss the Igloo Bar at Les Arcs, which is a crazy multi-room man-made ice cave that includes several impeccably done wall carvings. When it comes to getting to Paradiski, the Dominion is easily accessible both by car and public transit. If you're arriving by train, the best gateway is Bourg-Saint-Maurice, which has that direct funicular link to Arc 1600. BSM is well connected to Lyon, Chambéry, and Geneva by France's high-speed TGV and regional train services. From Geneva, which is the closest international airport, train travel typically takes around 4.5 hours and involves a transfer at Chambéry. It is worth noting that the luggage areas on some of the trains are not ski friendly, and if possible, you may want to try to be one of the first people on so you can store your stuff appropriately. For those driving to Paradiski, all of the dominions are about a 2-hour drive from Geneva, with most of the route going through the French highway network. For those staying in the higher elevations, the final part of the drive will involve windy mountain roads, although they are well maintained. Speaking of staying at Paradiski, the Dominion offers plenty of lodging options both on site and near the slopes. Les Arcs offers multiple lodging hubs. Arc 1950 is upscale and family friendly, Arc 1800 is lively with good après access, and Arc 2000 is quiet and ski focused. La Plagne's mid-mountain villages have true ski and ski out options, although they also have less nightlife. Peisey-Vallandry is the quietest option, and it's probably the most ideal for families. For true budget travelers, the base camp hostel in Bourg Saint-Maurice is a great option, and it has a bar and restaurant integrated. If you have an RV or camper van, La Plagne offers overnight parking lots with an easy access of the lifts. When it comes to Après-Ski, Paradiski is certainly fun-focused, although it might not offer the insane party vibes of places like Saint-Anton or Val Thorens. Of the two resort sides, Les Arcs has the more energetic scene. The Folie Deux in Arc 1800 is probably the highlight, but other slopeside bars make for great parties as well. So no, Paradiski isn't perfect. Its overall layout isn't the most intuitive, and some areas still rely on aging infrastructure. But despite these drawbacks, the Ski Dominion still delivers the size, variety, and scenery to earn its place among the heavy hitters in the European ski scene. And while covering the entire Dominion might take more effort than some of its more seamlessly connected peers, both Les Arcs and La Plagne are strong enough to stand on their own as world-class destinations. When it comes to pricing, Paradiski offers solid value. Adult one-day lift tickets for the full skiable footprint top out well below anything comparable in the US, and even undercut some major European resorts. Paradiski is not included on any major multi-resort passes, including Epic, Icon, Indie, or Mountain Collective. That said, the affordability of its ticket prices could make it a great option for skiers and riders who miss the Megapass deadlines or just want to take advantage of a European ski trip without breaking the bank. Now let's go through how Paradiski stacks up in our overall rankings, which are determined by the following 10 category mountain score. We'll be scoring 3 things: the broader Paradiski region, as well as the individual resorts of Les Arcs, which will include Peisey-Vallandry within it, and La Plagne. Paradiski sees competitive snow totals for the Alps, although guests shouldn't expect the regular powder conditions common in parts of North America. In the region as a whole and both individual resorts get a 6 in this category. Paradiski stays reasonably reliably open throughout the winter, although lower elevation runs do see variable openings. La Plagne's higher alpine footprint makes it a bit more reliable than Les Arcs, and both Les Arcs and the resort as a whole get a 6 for resiliency, while La Plagne gets a 7. Paradiski is one of the biggest ski dominions in the world, with the full footprint measuring in at a whopping 16,067 acres from edge to edge, and the individual resorts of La Plagne and the broader Les Arcs region measuring in at 8,831 acres and 7,236 acres respectively. These measurements are so gigantic that just the La Plagne and Les Arcs individual sides already earn our highest score of 10, let alone the region as a whole. Paradiski stands out for its high alpine terrain, especially for beginners and intermediates, although harder terrain is somewhat lacking, especially on the La Plagne side. This gets the resort an 8 for terrain diversity overall, with the score staying at an 8 for the more varied Les Arcs and dropping down to a 6 for the easier, high alpine biased La Plagne. Paradiski does have some tough steeps and off-piste areas, but it's just not the destination for adrenaline junkies, and the resort as a whole gets a 6 for challenge, with the score jumping to 7 for the more advanced-oriented Les Arcs and dropping to a 5 for the more family-friendly La Plagne. Paradiski's lift network is competitive overall, with the 200-person Vanoise Express especially standing out, but it's somewhat behind the best resorts in the Alps, and the Dominion gets a 7 for lifts overall and at Les Arcs, with the score jumping to an 8 for the slightly more modern La Plagne. Paradiski can get crowded on busy days, but there are very few terrible choke points, and the Dominion gets a 7 for crowd flow across the board. Paradiski offers a range of great restaurants across its footprint, but they're not quite around every corner. Both the resort overall and La Plagne get a 9 for facilities, while the slightly less restaurant-heavy Les Arcs gets an 8. As one whole package, Paradiski isn't the most coherent ski dominion in the world, but the individual resorts are better. The Dominion as a whole gets just a 2 for navigation, but the individual resorts of Les Arcs and La Plagne get a 5 and 6 respectively. And finally, mountain aesthetic. Paradiski's stunning slopes make for an iconic alpine backdrop, and while the Dominion may not be exactly one of a kind, both the ski region as a whole and the individual resorts still earn an impressive score of 9 in this category. These categories add up to an overall score of 73 for both La Plagne and Les Arcs, and 70 for the Paradiski Dominion overall. For most people, La Plagne and Les Arcs are much better viewed as 2 separate resorts rather than one comprehensive footprint, absent perhaps 1 or 2 rides on the Vanoise Express for the novelty of it. And individually, both ski resorts are competitive in the French Alps ski scene. If you're looking for family-friendly slopes and incredible views at a lift ticket price that's not too expensive, both resorts offer a fantastic experience, although other destinations out there do have more modern lift networks, better expert terrain, and a more cohesive connection between individual dominions. Alright, so big mountain skiing in Europe sounds pretty cool. That's why we're excited to announce our PeakHouse Austria trip for this upcoming January. We're going to be road tripping around some of the biggest and most snowshoe resorts in Europe, including Hintertux, Meyerhofen, and Solden. And because we know how daunting the logistics of a Europe vacation can be for an outside traveler, we've taken care of all the nitty-gritty details, with full coordinated rental car transportation, including to and from the airports, as well as groceries for our chalets. If you're looking for bigger mountain skiing than anything available in North America and want a crew to do it with, PeakHouse Austria is for you. For more information and to sign up before all of the spots are gone, check out the link in the description below. If you found this information helpful, be sure to like and subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our content. For more information on Paradiski and over 100 ski resorts around the world, check out peakrankings.com. See you for the next one.